Of the 874 students enrolled at Gonzaga Prep, today they're about to turn down the house lights for what?
That's because one of our classmates did something remarkable.
So remarkable, it's achieved by only about 0.1% out of millions of high school students.
The highest score possible on the ACT, the 36.
And while the student who accomplished this extraordinary feat is not one to grab the spotlight,
First and foremost,
short of diving out of the spotlight, today there's no avoiding it.
ladies and gentlemen, if you would turn your attention to the center aisle and give a huge round of applause to Jacob!
Even more rare, Jacob Nordhagen is still a junior. The 16-year-old took the ACT to just kind of identify any weaknesses. Turns out, no weaknesses here.
At first when I saw it, I'm like, oh wow, I got a 36.
So when he showed us his score, he couldn't believe it. So he's like, Dad, this is for real. And then my husband was like, I think that's a sample. I think that's a sample score.
You sure that's your actual score?
And like, that's his name right on top of it though. So I think that's pretty much his score.
First, I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's my real score.
It was rough, I know, it was.
It's both real and, according to his chemistry teacher, kind of unreal.
I've never seen that, ever. I didn't even know it was possible. You did all bring the little periodic tables. The joke answer would be, he was nothing before he came to me.
The real answer, says Mr. Flanagan,
Multiple choice?
is that Jacob doesn't really need much coaxing.
I read a lot, and I'm taking a computer science class, and I'm kind of dabbling in coding.
SP2.
While it may seem like this kid does nothing more than dabble in decimals and data, Jacob is also sharp on the soccer field. But I learned where he really shines is in a different field entirely.
I'm actually part of the 5th generation to work on this farm. These are our chickens. We've got pens along both walls here.
Chickens, cows, and when the weather warms, a bounty of produce too. Running this Chatteroy farm takes a lot of work from family, which includes Jacob and his 3 younger brothers.
I'm Andrew, and I'm 15.
I'm Caleb, and I'm 13 years old.
I'm Lucas, and I'm 9 years old.
Yeah, what we're doing here is really just kind of a continuation of the family legacy.
It turns out the Nordhagen family legacy includes a celebrated love story. Jacob's great-grandparents are Floyd and Margaret Nordhagen,
They were just really nice people.
a pair filled with a love for others and for each other.
Say hi to Puppy.
Floyd was known for bragging about his wife's beauty and how lucky he was that she chose him. The two did not like to spend time apart. When Floyd could no longer push the lawnmower by himself, the two pushed it together. People who knew these two knew they were witnessing a love that was almost legendary.
People saw that they were holding hands when they passed away. That was even more special, I think.
That final day of their 68-year marriage came abruptly in October of 2013. Family says it was God who took Floyd and Margaret together in this crash. Their final act of love even stunned troopers who found the couple hand in hand in the wreckage.
You know, you don't see that every day. We actually had to ask her to let go of him so that we could get him out of the car.
It's a story of love that lasts a lifetime, which I think is rare these days.
Which is why the story of Floyd and Margaret's unbreakable bond was shared by people across the U.S. and beyond. Something that may solely appear tragic, perhaps also a gift.
I honestly don't know what they would have done without each other. So in a way, it was a blessing that they went at the same time.
So you see, Floyd and Margaret together are woven into the fabric of their farm, woven into Jacob and his brothers too. Their goodness is alive and well in Jacob, who pours his heart into the farm, where bonds seem to grow stronger than steel.
Oh, they'll be really, really proud.
Proud of the kid who has his sights set on Stanford, a school fittingly known as the Farm. And while this stunningly perfect college admissions test should help Jacob get to that farm, much like Floyd and Margaret, Jacob will likely never linger far from this one.
Being with my family is my favorite thing to do.
Perhaps that's why the Nordhagen family cultivates such beautiful eggs, perfect produce, and an extraordinary crop of people too.
All right, file this one away as one of those videos that cause you to lose a little hope in humanity. Here's the video. It's put out by a Facebook page called Too Cool, and you know it's legit because they spell cool with a K. So watching the video, you're seeing these clips from popular movies and stock images of attractive women, promises of free beer, and $5,000 a month just to marry an Icelandic woman. And watching, I'm actually wondering if this is some sort of a joke video and I'm just not in on the joke, but it had been seen more than 3 million times in the first 24 hours alone. And a disturbingly high amount of commenters on the video seem to be taking it at face value. So let me make this very clear. This is false. Like really, false. Apparently this is a recycled hoax from the last couple years, which made my verified job easier. Online fact checker Snopes already did a lot of the legwork, and I also turned to the government of Iceland's immigration website. Turns out the entire premise is false. Rather than having too many women and not enough men in Iceland, men actually slightly outnumber women. And instead of offering newcomers money, the Directorate of Immigration's website says you have to prove your own financial support before you're granted a residence permit. So gentlemen, before you pack your bags and move to Iceland, make sure you got the cash and you're prepared to find yourself a wife.
It's hard to miss, and neighbor sentiment regarding this thing is hard to forget.
Get rid of that damn thing.
The so-called mistake on the lake, as neighbors put it, is a 2-story 4-boat garage. It overshadows the quiet and small Everwell Bay on Lake Coeur d'Alene.
This is terrible that this is here.
The garage replaced a smaller, single-level one that was here for years prior. Neighbors contend that their views are ruined and their property values have taken a hit. There's other concerns too.
And that building is so high now, our internet service is blocked.
You may have seen this before, but we're going to show it to you again. This is what the old boathouse looked like before, and this is what it looked like today. Neighbors are obviously really concerned with what their view is like now, and they say they should now take this to the Idaho Supreme Court to figure it out. The new garage was placed there a couple of years ago. In 2016, neighbor Roy Newton filed a civil lawsuit against the Idaho Department of Lands, alleging that the garage wasn't properly permitted and was built illegally.
It was much larger than the old one.
But just this summer, a Kootenai County judge dismissed the case, saying that Newton and the neighbors didn't have enough evidence. That judge also said that the boat garage's change wasn't significant, and that the neighbors still had a view of Lake Coeur d'Alene. So just last week, the neighbors filed an appeal with the Idaho Supreme Court.
It's clear a local judge has made their stance. I guess why go to the Supreme Court now?
Because the local judge didn't pay attention to what the writings were that were submitted by our attorney.
They're taking the fight online too. Just head to mistakeonthelakecda.com and you can brush up on the squabble. Now, I was able to reach the homeowner who built the garage. He declined to comment, citing litigation, but did say that the local court ruling, quote, speaks for itself. But neighbors wish he would have commented to them when he was building the garage in the first place.
And why would you want to do that to your neighbors without consulting them or asking anything?
Both Meesom and Newton contend that the garage is setting a precedent and, coupled with the judge's ruling, could make it easier for other mega garages to come. They want their quiet little bay to stay that way.
And this is going to go to the Supreme Court, and the neighbors are going to fight like hell.
On Everwell Bay, Taylor Vito, KREM 2 News.
3, 2, 1.
During the holidays, we all up our shopping game. Companies up their shipping game. And thieves, so many thieves, stand ready for the interception.
Have you ever had a package stolen?
Personally, I have, yes.
Clearly, by the number of surveillance cameras out there now.
Stop stealing my gifts. Stop it.
Homeowners have grown weary of people picking packages off their porches.
I got a text message saying that your package had been delivered, and so I'm thinking, I don't remember a package on the porch. So I go back out, double check, nothing's there. So then I'm thinking, this is weird. Okay, you can see him getting out of his car.
So Nick logged onto his surveillance camera he'd bought just for times like this.
And sure enough, I see the UPS driver pull up, drop off the package, and about 15 minutes later, this guy walks up, looks into the camera, so grabbed a snapshot and then walked off with my wife's one and only Christmas present that she asked me for. But then it's like, I don't want to say any bad words, but you jerk.
Nick burned a DVD for Spokane police, who tell me they're getting a lot more quality video these days.
People will turn over that video to us, we will upload it into our evidence system, and we will use that in prosecution of package thieves.
The Spokane Police Department does not track how many theft cases rely on video for an arrest, but Officer John O'Brien tells me they'll often recognize a person in the video and track them down. In fact, his own experience at work was enough to convince him to install a camera at home.
You have a surveillance camera at your house.
I do.
And the best part of the whole thing is right there.
While Nick made a police report, apparently social media dropped the hammer on the suspect first.
Sister-in-law was mad about it, so she posted to Facebook, and then suddenly friends and people that know this guy start texting her, that's so-and-so, we know him. Like, I know his address. He's gonna be like, oh man, I'm getting in trouble for fiber, you know? It was fiber and birthday cake protein powder. It's all the wife wanted for Christmas. But it was expensive protein powder.
Apparently, the suspect saw his name and image circulating the internet because just a couple of hours after we first interviewed Nick, someone on social media told him to go home and check his porch.
And so I did, and this is what I came home to, is the stuff I bought for my wife, and then it was like, now I gotta check my cameras to see who brought it back, and sure enough, same guy. Then he walks up, he puts it back, and then he takes off.
Do you think maybe he was disappointed with what was in your package?
Absolutely. I mean, fiber, who wants fiber? That's not gonna go hot on Craigslist. Like, are you kidding me?
So, will this guy be off the hook for ultimately returning the goods? No. Police tell me he could still be charged with theft.
Yes, I'm like so happy that it works.
So score one for the good guys. Nick now has a gift to give. Now he just has to find a box.
Yeah, no box. So I gotta find a new box to wrap it.
Students set up a tent in the middle of campus to secure a seat at some of the most highly anticipated men's home basketball games. It's not easy though. In fact, it's usually cold outside. It can take time away from classes and tests too.
So why continue with the tradition many other schools have done away with? 2 on Your Side's Whitney Ward set out to get the answer.
So, full disclosure, I am a Coug. I did not go to Gonzaga, and I've never participated in this tradition of tenting. But several of my colleagues at Krem have. And to hear them talk about it, you'd think it's just the best thing in the world.
Memorable.
Tradition.
Spirited. Connected.
But is it really? I mean, it's warm today, but it is still winter. And frankly, the thought of staying in the grass and spending the night just sounds crazy, which it is. And I've learned that's exactly why they do it. It's the scene at almost every home game at the Kennel. But what you may not know is quite what it takes to get here. It actually starts days before the big game, students milling around campus.
Ready, Christine?
But if you thought this was just like any other day, you'd be wrong. A tweet just went out, the tweet, a single message from the GU Kennel Club that sends students racing from all corners of the campus to one spot.
They are snapshots of family and friends enjoying an idyllic inland Northwest summer. For Steve Gleason, managing this kind of adventure is not necessarily easy. Then again, this is the guy who blazed the trail called Awesome Ain't Easy.
Spending time up here each year in the Northwest truly fuels my soul.
What else feeds his soul, which is awesome but not easy? Being a dad.
I've learned that parenting is a difficult responsibility. I believe that taking on difficult responsibility that is meaningful is what brings purpose to life. So, in that sense, I embrace and enjoy parenting, even when it's not easy.
And now it's about to get doubly difficult and joyous. Steve and wife Michelle just announced they're expecting a baby girl in October.
You're having a baby girl. That's very exciting. How do you think that'll be different from raising a son?
I have almost zero experience with raising a daughter, so that appropriately terrifies me. At the same time, in many ways, I think we live in an era where a girl can grow up to be absolutely successful in any arena they choose. I know that intelligence, strength, and independence from a father will influence and instill those same traits in daughters.
Steve says he and Michelle are working to teach son Rivers to embrace his own talents and interests too. But right now, Rivers' primary interest is the role of big brother.
How does Rivers think about having a little sister?
No one is more excited about this baby than Rivers. When we told him several months ago, he nearly exploded with joy.
The decision to have another baby is something the Gleasons have considered for several years. And now Steve is soaking up all the advice he can gather, even asking Twitter followers to suggest the best book to read if you're about to have a daughter.
What's the best advice you got from your mom or your dad?
I think that both my mom and dad taught me how to be disciplined, how to work hard, and how to be respectful to people. As a father, I have really come to appreciate those elements of being a human.
He'll try and teach the same to the next little human when she joins the family too. We know she'll quickly realize her dad has a sense of humor. I mean, by now you've probably noticed his Team Gleason themed nails.
Yes, absolutely. Be jealous.
Yeah, what I found is a family and a school on opposite sides, and at the center of it all is a young girl who just had her 12th birthday. And because she is a possible victim of sexual harassment, we are not going to show you her face. We're not going to use her name or even her parents' names. But I am going to let you hear her words because I think it's important for you to hear directly from her, even though we have disguised her voice. Now, I've talked to a lot of people to get to the bottom of this. Most of them did not want to be interviewed on camera, but between court documents and conversations with both the family and the school, here's where it stands right now.
It's kind of a shame that it came to this.
It's definitely not the kind of case civil attorney Matt Albrecht is used to, but he says he took it on for one reason.
Children shouldn't have to be going to school scared.
So, his newest client is a 12-year-old girl who's been a student at Northwest Christian School in Colbert for the last 2 years. Let's call her A. She says she likes her school and her friends, except for 2 boys who she says have been harassing her. We'll call them Boy 1 and Boy 2. Boy 1, she says, has been picking on her since last year.
He dropped books on my head and slammed my hand in the locker and hid my stuff from my backpack around the classroom.
Then, at the end of March, she says Boy 2 touched her inappropriately in the middle of choir class when the lights were turned off as the 6th graders were watching The Sound of Music. When I sat down with her at Albrecht's law office, her mom sat with us and gave A permission to tell me what happened.
Boy 2 put his foot on my knee and inner thigh area and was moving it up and down approximately 10 times. And I told him to stop and I smacked his foot away.
And then what?
After class, I told my next class's teacher.
And then what did she say?
She said that she'll talk to him.
And do you know if she did?
No.
Did anything happen?
No.
Did anyone from the school ever come to you to try and understand more about what happened?
No.
A few weeks later, A says the same Boy 2 approached her again when they were alone behind the drama stage. So her family asked the sheriff's office to investigate and also filed for a protection order against both boys. In that court petition, A says Boy 2 asked her to take a ride in his white van with tinted windows, then made sexual gestures at her. A stated she was scared and left to tell a teacher. She says that teacher then told boy 2 to stay away from the girls. Now, court declarations from the boy's family shows he denies all of it, saying he never touched her thigh, didn't say anything about a white van, and didn't make sexual gestures. He goes on to say that what A has been saying about him makes him nervous and scared, and that he now has nightmares about going to jail. Then on April 11th, just after spring break, A texted her mom from class to come get her. That would end up being her last day of school at Northwest Christian.
Okay, so we're going to come back to that here in just a moment. In the meantime, the family says they tried to have sit-down meetings with school administrators and the boys' parents, but they tell me the school wouldn't set it up. So that's when they decided to pursue those protection orders against boy 1 and boy 2. And just last week, there was a hearing, and a judge in Spokane Superior Court listened to testimony from both sides and then granted those protection orders for 1 year. That means those boys are not allowed to have any contact with A of any kind.
But today was one of the good days where you get to see a court step in as the last resort.
Albrecht tells me the family wanted to resolve the issue without going to court, while Northwest Christian insists it did nothing wrong. In fact, school administrators say A's mom has sparked such a controversy online that some parents felt threatened by her behavior and her statements. It caused the school to activate a modified lockdown one day in early May. School administrators didn't want to speak on camera, but sent me this statement saying our primary objective is to create a safe and nurturing learning environment. They tell me in this particular incident between A and boy 2, they followed their student handbook regarding bullying and harassment. So I asked for a copy of that school policy. It reads bullying is never acceptable and that staff are committed to prevent bullying and mentor students while holding them accountable for their actions. It adds that students and parents are encouraged to report problems to teachers or administrators and that any harassment will result in major disciplinary action.
So I asked school officials if they think they did enough after that initial claim of harassment in the choir classroom, and to that they said no comment. So then I asked if A could come back to school so she could finish out the year. Remember when we said that her last day was on April 11th? Well, school administrators tell me that A's mom indicated on several occasions, online and in person, that she wouldn't be coming back, so they withdrew her. But A's mom tells me she never actually completed the official withdrawal paperwork. And if you see here, she sent me a copy of that paperwork. It was never signed or submitted, so she believes that A should still be considered a student.
Do you still want to go to school there?
Yeah.
You do? How come?
Well, now that I know that they are going to get off my back, it will be like I have the space to learn, to go to school like a normal kid should, and like be able to go there without being messed with.
In this declaration to the court, A says she doesn't want to be in a room alone with boy 2 and that what the school has done so far has not stopped him. But she stated she does want to come back to school with her friends. However, an email from the school's attorney says since A is no longer a student at Northwest Christian, she and her family are not allowed to enter the campus. So I asked the school, is that standard procedure for all families who stop attending there or just A and her family? To that, the school again said no comment.
There is a sense of secrecy that is really disappointing.
What do you think the school should have done?
Well, first, if there's a dark theater and a young girl has had a boy rubbing part of his body against her thigh after she's saying stop it, it is astonishing to me that the first phone call is not to that girl's parents.
Do you think in their mind it was just kids being kids?
Well, not just in their minds, but that's almost the exact words of the detective who investigated. That this is more than that. This was growing to a point where it's unacceptable. And if you were in a workplace, would it be okay for somebody to do these things to you? And if it's not, why are we not teaching our children that they should give each other the same respect each one of us would ask for?
So I did talk to the Spokane County Sheriff's Office. I'm told the investigation is still ongoing, but at this point it doesn't seem like any of the possible actions from the boys would rise to the level of a crime. As of right now, A is being homeschooled. Northwest Christian says she is welcome to reapply for admission in the fall, but when I asked if there was any way for her to come back for these last few weeks of school, I was told no, that her status as a student is going to stay as withdrawn.
We are told that this fire is spreading rapidly, that there are evacuation orders orders in place. Level 3, that means get out quickly. We're told that the fire on Upriver Drive spreading rapidly, particularly to the southeast.
Again, this is just north of the Boulder Beach area. It started this afternoon. We understand one structure is burning or has burned as a result of this.
So we're told Upriver Drive is closed between Boulder Beach to Frederick, and there are level 3 evacuations in place south of Valley Springs, east of Minnehaha, and north of Upriver. Of course, level 3 evacuations, you can't get higher than that. That means get out now.
That fire is burning 25 to 30 acres at last check. As we mentioned, one structure is burning.
We're told this fire is moving very quickly. KREM 2's Shayna Walltower is at the scene right now with the latest. Shayna, what can you tell us?
Yeah, I've got a little bit closer to the base of the fire. Smoke is still rising high and it's spreading eastward. Across the fields here, we have gotten a report that one structure has been burned, and there are level 3 evacuations that are mandatory that are set for the nearby area. Police have evacuated the nearby beach, and they've demanded them to leave, and they've also blocked off the nearby roads.
And Whitney is here because we understand the evacuation orders that we've been talking about are now expanding.
Yeah, it's moving that fast, and it continues to spot ahead of itself that it just keeps growing. So they have now expanded the boundaries for these evacuations. So I want to get to those right away.
So police have made us move again. So I'm at another location now. You can still hear helicopters that are flying above, still working to get more water over into that area. The flames or the smoke has gotten a little bit thicker as crews are still working to battle this fire.
We had one structure confirmed loss and multiple structures threatened at this time. I'm just listening to the radio, and what they're telling me is lots of structures are threatened.
Good. Well, thank you so much for your time, Eric. And when we arrived, we could see this plume of smoke behind me, give you a clear view of what we're looking at from this scene. We could see this plume of smoke from downtown Spokane today. You can see it from all over. Again, that level 3 evacuation for certain areas around the fire. It's about 30 to 50 acres and growing.
We bring in Whitney Ward now. And Whitney, we know there are multiple evacuation orders in place, but things keep changing.
Yeah, it's been changing a lot here, even in the last 10 minutes or so. So I want to first start with a big picture look at the kind of area that we're looking at. Way over here at Argonne, that is kind of this far boundary, all the way over here to Havana, which is right here. Bigelow Gulch and way down here at Upriver has been the general area, the boundary that we're talking about. Now, the level 2 boundary is much bigger than the level 3. So let's talk about level 3. I believe we have a map that will show that very clearly. The boundaries are Valley Springs, Shields Park, which is down here, Upriver, and then Bigelow Gulch, which is way up here in Francis.
As you're looking at a live picture kind of at the Beacon Hill area, you can see that plume of smoke coming up. It has now grown to roughly 50 acres. The tough terrain, the steep terrain, making it difficult for ground crews in that area, and that's why they've called in air resources.
You want to take a look behind me. When we were here earlier, this plume of smoke was much higher and darker. That dark smoke means it's hit possibly a structure, which we have confirmed one structure has been lost in the fire. But Eric with DNR mentioned that because of the look of this smoke, it looks like crews may have a better hold on the fire.
Just about an hour ago, we said that the estimate was about 25 acres. An hour later, they say it's probably around 50 acres and spreading quickly.
There's a north wind coming up. It's actually heading towards my home, which is about 2 blocks away. And so at this point, my wife is headed home, and I think we're thinking about evacuating.
Yeah, are you worried? I mean, it's difficult because it's probably time to kind of get going, but it's worrisome.
Well, you know, it certainly puts all those thoughts in your mind about what kinds of things do I need to collect and out of my home and get into my car so that we can be ready to leave. So that's definitely a concern at this point.
Well, Larry, I appreciate you taking the time, and I want you to get home so you can do that, collect everything that you need, and I hope it doesn't have to come to that. Thank you so much for talking with me.
This was sent to us from a crew at the scene. It shows a tanker dropping water, what appears to be water, over the Upriver Beacon Fire, as they are calling it right now. There's a lot of moving parts to this one. It's now 75 to 100 acres, at least one home burned, several more threatened.
KREM 2's Taylor Vito is out at the scene from a different vantage point. Taylor?
Well, guys, this is this road to my right is Wellesley, and then that's Valley Springs Road, as you guys have been mentioning, the northern boundary of these evacuations. So as I've been here in the last 10 minutes or so getting set up, you can see cars like this one right here talking with the Spokane police officer on scene there. Many folks coming to this area wondering where their homes are in relation, or where that evacuation order is in relation to where their homes are. Some people being allowed past that roadblock, others, like you see this truck turning around right here, being turned around, not being allowed in.
This is a tweet from Washington State DNR. As you can see, they say they have 5 engines there, 3 fire bosses, and 2 helicopters, and that's just DNR. There are several other local crews at the scene right now.
When my wolf gets a hunger pain, he's going to feel it.
Raising cattle in Ferry County has never been easy.
So how long has your family been up here on this land?
Since 47.
But for Ron Eslick, it's never been harder than right now.
The day that their wolf killed that calf over there, all my cows was right here in a tight circle right here.
He tells me he's lost 3 calves just this year to wolf attacks.
And that was all scuffed up there where she's fighting it off.
In May, it was a weeks-old calf killed right along the fence line near his property outside of Kettle Falls. Just 7 miles south of the Canadian border, he is deep in Washington wolf country.
They might be even watching us from right up here.
So while it's clear that the current system is not working for ranchers like Ron Eslick, the other side of this wolf issue is from environmentalists who say it's not working for the wolves either. And that's why some are looking to a grazing allotment like this one. We're still on U.S. Forest Service land. It's the Colville National Forest, but as you can see, it is much more open. And the hope is that both sides will agree this works better.
You have a place here where you have cattle that you can see where they are. You can count them from a distance even. If there's any movement in the tree line that's wolves coming in, you can see them and observe and protect your livestock. What's best for everyone in this situation? I'm confident we'll get there. We'll find that answer.
So you just heard 2 very different sides of the same issue. But as Mike said, they will never meet in the middle until they actually meet face to face. So I brought them together face to face. Having heard his frustrations, why are we fighting so hard to protect the wolves?
I think it can be done.
Do you think it can be done?
By the time they get it all taken care of, you might lose a lot of cattlemen.
Would you say it's worth a try? So that is where this story continues. Make sure and join us tomorrow for part 2 on KREM 2 News at 6.
There's inherently distrust between our 2
there
communities.
is.
So how do we circumvent that? And it's going to take a few special people to actually just say, you know what, let's try this.
Yeah, but I hate to be a punching bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. And if you're feeling that way, how do we fix that?
Quit punching me.
But truly, we don't want him to feel like a punching bag, and we certainly don't want him to perceive that we're throwing the punches.
Welcome, and thanks for joining us for a special edition of KREM 2 News. I'm Alexa Block. Moving to Spokane 2 years ago, I knew a few things. I knew Spokane was home to gorgeous parks, Gonzaga basketball, and Rachel Dolezal, a white woman who got national attention for posing as a black woman and leading the local NAACP chapter. Dolezal is getting national attention again. Netflix released The Rachel Divide just a few weeks ago, and like the entire fallout of 2015, it's getting mixed reviews. While some say we should all accept her apology because her identity isn't ours to judge, others say we shouldn't because she was only pushing stereotypes of what she thinks a black woman should be. But a topic that comes up again, the people this story largely affected and continues to, black women in Spokane. We're sharing our stories of identity in a candid conversation in this special edition of KREM 2 News, Real Talk, Bridging the Divide. Hi, Tara, it's nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. I'm a hugger. Oh, see, I got a lot of huggers. You got a lot of huggers.
Here, so I couldn't sit here and define what black means because that's different for each individual you meet.
The burden isn't on us to have the systems treat us right. It's for the systems to learn how to treat us right. And that's why I work for the systems, because I'm all about system change and helping people grow.
You have mats and you have walls and you can train. And that's what we did every day.
I'm the first female women's ultimate fighter. I think that alone is motivating enough to make me want to destroy somebody.
I've always believed that anyway. It doesn't matter where you start. Being there is so cool. Enjoying the moment's cool. We still got some stuff to do.
I think that Darnay and Creme 2 put a very good product together that is for viewers of Spokane. It's for the city. It's for their benefit to see this, but I still feel like it kind of benefited me more. You know, it kind of lit a fire under me.
It was there.
I got to relive some memories that were really good, and it was a great experience.
It's good to go back in the past. It's good to remember where you came from. We've been in this grind for like, man, I don't know how long, over 10 years. It's just been this grind every day. And it's good to stop and reset.
I thought it was very well put together, and I think it captured the sense of community, Spokane pride. It just made me proud of all those guys up there and proud of our city.
That film couldn't have been done better. I loved it. I absolutely loved the film. It was very well put together, and I felt a sense of pride and honor. There were tears, laughter. It was perfect. I loved it. And I thank Creme 2. I do. I thank Creme 2 for taking the time and doing that documentary.
Welcome to Bark in the Park. It's a scene out here, man.
A lot of dogs.
People are so excited to find their new furry friends.
Thank you for adopting Wasabi. And Wasabi the pig, everyone, live on the ice ribbon here at Riverfront Park, along with all these beautiful dogs that have been adopted.
We want to give a huge thank you to everyone who supported Bark in the Park. Thanks to you, dozens of dogs have forever homes.
I like it so far, but I'm ready to be back to be clean shaven. It'll be nice again.
Makes me feel comfortable out there in the elements.
I grew one back in my 20s when I was back in radio. I don't remember it ever being this itchy, and quite frankly, it's uncomfortable. This is the way to go. I like this. I've never had that before, that kind of a shave with a straight blade, and it was awesome.
Feel like a baby.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to everyone who came down to Hands Only CPR. Thank you to everyone who volunteered and supported this year's Tom's Turkey Drive.
Thank you so much for supporting Tools to Schools. All these backpacks filled with supplies will go to area children. Because of your kindness, kids will start the school year right.
Tools to Schools, in partnership with the Coeur d'Alene Casino Resort.
Just some heartbreaking news out of Pullman tonight. The up-and-coming young quarterback for WSU has died of an apparent suicide. Now fellow students, coaches, players, and fans are all looking back on a young life cut far too short. Thanks for being here with us tonight. I'm Whitney Ward.
And I'm Mark Hanrahan. We're bringing in Darnay Tripp right off the top tonight. Obviously, it is devastating news. Police say quarterback Tyler Hilinski found dead in a Pullman apartment this afternoon. He was 21 years old.
Pullman police sent out a press release at 8 o'clock this evening saying that around 4:30 this afternoon, police officers did a welfare check at an apartment complex for a football player who had not shown up for practice earlier that day and found Tyler Hilinski, 21 years old, deceased with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. A rifle was recovered next to Hilinski and a suicide note was found. They continued saying detectives and the Whitman County Coroner's Office are conducting a thorough investigation to confirm the suspected cause and manner of death. WSU released a statement this evening, including a quote from Mike Leach, who said, "We are deeply saddened to hear the news of Tyler's passing. He was an incredible young man, and everyone who had the privilege of knowing him was better for it. The entire WSU community mourns as thoughts and prayers go out to his family." And from Interim Athletic Director John Johnson, the tragic news today surrounding Tyler Hilinski is devastating to all. Tyler was a tremendous individual, great friend and teammate, and he will be deeply missed. Our hearts go out to his family and friends. The school's release also said the team was brought together and informed of the news today. Tyler Hilinski had just wrapped up his redshirt sophomore season in Pullman. He was Luke Falk's backup the last 2 years, making his first career start in the Holiday Bowl, Washington State's last game. He threw 2 touchdowns against Michigan State. The Claremont, California native led the team's unforgettable comeback win over Boise State back in September and was expected to take over the starting quarterback job in 2018. There was a huge outpouring on Twitter after the news broke. Numerous teammates, including Jihad Woods, saying, "I'm speechless. Doesn't seem real, I should say, at all. I'm sorry, brother. RIP 3. Cornerback Marcellus Pippins, "I'm sick. Heart is so heavy. Rest in peace, Clink." Fellow quarterback John Bledsoe, son of Drew Bledsoe, "God let Tyler find peace. Everyone, please pray for the Hilinski family tonight. Heaven received a very special person." Defensive back Skylar Thomas, "Ty, you were a great teammate, friend, brother, anything we needed you to be. You brought smiles to the people around you. I'm sorry I could not be there for you when you needed a smile for yourself. Love you, man. Rest in peace." And his brother Ryan Hilinski, who is also being recruited by the Cougs, "Please keep my family in your prayers tonight." WSU President Kirk Schultz adding, "Our thoughts and prayers are with the Hilinski family. Other schools and coaches around the Pac-12 and here in the Inland Northwest have passed along their condolences as well." We are familiar, of course, with former Coug Ryan Leaf's story. He is a recovered addict, is now helping others battle their own demons. He said on Twitter, "I am so expletive angry. I can't stop crying. Every human life is so precious. All I wish is that I could have been in that apartment in Pullman, looked that amazing young man in the eyes and said, 'You're loved, Tyler. I'm just like you and I've been here and there is hope.' Hugged him and never let go." And tonight, there's a memorial already growing on the WSU campus. This picture comes from Die Hard Cougs, candles and flowers underneath the Cougar Pride statue. The WSU community absolutely shaken, stunned by the news tonight, as you'd expect.
And those tweets, it is profoundly sad to hear from some of these incredibly strong people that we know and have heard from so many different occasions, and to see that raw emotion that we've seen tonight has been just
in situations
gut-wrenching.
like this, you don't really know how to process it. You don't know the right words to say. There probably aren't the right words to say.
And particularly for his teammates who are having to deal with this, that know him so well. You think you know him and what he's going through so well, and then just to be absolutely blindsided by something like this. It's important to note WSU is making counselors available to the football team, and I'm sure athletic department wide for anybody who wants to talk to somebody, which again, if you're ever in a situation like this, so important just to get help, to speak to anybody.
Listen to people, be an ear, be kind to each other.
And it's so important to say, even sometimes the people that you think couldn't possibly be struggling, they might be. And so how important it is to pay attention to that and not to discount it and not to try to explain it away. And if that is you, or if you know someone who's having thoughts of suicide, just there is help. And the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is staffed. There is someone there 24/7. Someone always picks up the phone.
The number right there on your screen is 1-800-273-8255, and specifically at WSU, the school's counseling crisis line, that number is 509-335-2159.
We just can't say it enough, but obviously WSU feeling a big loss tonight. Many of you just as affected as we are, as everyone else here on Twitter, as we have been by this tragedy. We're going to head to a quick break. These are some of the many words for the Helinski family in just a terrible time. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. I want to turn to weather right now. After a pretty fantastic weekend, the dreary weather has returned to the inland Northwest.
Absolutely. And if you thought it was sloppy and messy out there right now, well, just get ready for even more of that. Evan Narani is tracking a lot of changes coming. Hi, Evan.
Hey, yeah, Mark and Whitney, I've already started to see some of those changes move around right now. Pretty foggy conditions out all around the Spokane region. You can see a live camera out at downtown. Pretty tough to see what's going on down there just because of how intense this fog is right now. We're at about a quarter mile of visibility at the Spokane Airport, half a mile at Felts Field. Coeur d'Alene is at a quarter mile of visibility as well. You can see it's affecting mostly the Spokane County region. Most other areas are seeing pretty good visibility for the evening, but we are expecting those conditions to persist all the way through the morning hours of tomorrow. For the last 24 hours and the last 12 hours on this satellite radar, you can see only cloud coverage is what we've seen around the inland Northwest. We're going to expect some rain and snow to move through as we go into tomorrow. Here's that future precipitation tracker that shows you exactly how much we're expecting around your region. You can see those areas in blue are expecting upwards of 1.5 inches of rain in the next 48 hours, but that green area is expecting only less than ½ an inch. So coming up, we'll take a look at that future tracker to see exactly when you can expect all of that rain to come around.
Sounds good, Evan. Thanks very much. Well, in other news tonight, newly released court documents show a man accused in a violent rape over the weekend had just been released from jail 2 days earlier.
The crime happened at a Spokane Valley gas station. KREM 2's Lindsay Nadrich was in court today as the suspect faced a judge.
It didn't take long for Michael Rush to be thrown back in jail. Rush, a level 3 registered sex offender, was arrested for rape and assault on Saturday. Court documents showed just 2 days earlier he was released from the Chelan County Jail. He'd been serving time for a Department of Corrections violation. Rush has an extensive criminal history with 10 felony convictions and 10 misdemeanor convictions. Some of those convictions include secondary assault and first-degree rape. Now he's facing new charges of secondary assault and first-degree rape for an attack on a woman that happened here at the Seneca Zip Trip on Trent Avenue in Spokane Valley. Documents detail a violent rape and assault. Deputies responded to a panic alarm at the store, and when they arrived, all the lights were turned off, even though the store is open 24/7. Once inside, deputies say Rush came out of the bathroom and initially lied about why he was there. Investigators say they then heard a woman screaming from the bathroom. She told them Rush violently attacked her. She also said that she doesn't know him, but that he had come into the store earlier that day with a woman and later came back alone to turn in lottery tickets. The victim said Rush came around the counter, told her he had a gun, and forced her into the bathroom. What happened next is too gruesome for me to share. The woman was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Rush told deputies he had used methamphetamine, so he was also taken to the hospital and then booked into jail. During an interview with detectives, documents say Rush said he would be willing to confess to this crime and tell them about all the other victims if he could confess it to a female officer or secretary. But when the detective wouldn't leave him alone with a woman on staff, he refused. In court, his bond was set at $750,000. I'm Lindsay Nadrich, KREM 2 News.
Well, we have been hearing how bad the flu is this year, and now we have some numbers locally to show you. The Spokane Regional Health District says 46 people have died from the flu here in Washington so far this season, and 14 of those deaths have been reported right here in Spokane County.
That report also shows more than 300 people have been hospitalized just within Spokane County this season. According to this graph, you can see most of those hospitalized for the flu are 61 years of age or older. So far this season, health officials report they are seeing the most hospitalizations per month since the 2014-15 flu season.
This season's flu is being considered a nationwide epidemic by the CDC, with nearly 42,000 cases of the flu confirmed. The flu season typically runs from October through the end of May. The Washington State House Education Committee is discussing a bill to allow opioid overdose medication in public schools and colleges. The bill has bipartisan support. If passed, K-12 schools could get overdose medication like Narcan nasal spray. High schools would be encouraged to have at least one set of medication. It could be administered by a school nurse or other trained staff person.
Well, several months after the shooting, another man is under arrest in the death of a former Spokane Empire football player. Spokane police have arrested Peyton Bradford in connection to the death of Carl Sims, who you can see here. Bradford was arrested on Friday and made his first court appearance today. Court documents say witnesses saw the other suspect in the case, Ricky Tanner, and Bradford get into an argument with a group of people which included Sims. That was before Sims was then shot near the Monterey Cafe. It happened back on October 8th. Sims died the next day. Tanner's already in jail facing charges of first-degree murder.
Well, there have been 2 false missile emergency alerts sent out in less than a week.
Yeah, first there was this alert called a wireless emergency alert that was sent to more than 1 million people in Hawaii. A worker accidentally sent that one out. And today there was a similar alert message sent to people in Japan saying a missile was headed straight for the country. Obviously, you don't want to be left questioning that type of alert ever. So we wanted to know, how are things handled here locally?
So here we have Alert Spokane, and you have to sign up for those alerts. Greater Spokane emergency management officials say it has multiple safeguards to prevent a similar accident from happening.
Well, they tell us their office has 3 individuals who are authorized to launch a wireless emergency alert. We had them show us what that process looks like. So for starters, they tell us there are several buttons. They also have to enter a launch code for confirmation. They tell us those steps make it difficult to accidentally ever send out an alert.
It would be very difficult because they're checking with me, and then I'm still having to put my code, which isn't simple, and then it will launch.
Each step in this process has a safeguard the Code Red system has in place to prevent accidentally launching an alert. Counties may have different systems that don't have the same safeguards. Glad to know we have a system in place here.
Absolutely.
All right, tomorrow law enforcement across the state will pay tribute to Deputy Daniel McCartney, who was killed in the line of duty earlier this month.
Still ahead, the heartfelt way the Pierce County Sheriff's Office is honoring Deputy McCartney. We'll be right back.
You're watching KREM 2 News at 11.
Welcome back. The Pierce County Sheriff's Office over on the west side has a new canine deputy. His name is Dan.
Yeah, in a tweet earlier today, they announced the canine originally named Alpha was renamed Dan by Deputy Daniel McCartney's 3 sons. The tweet says, with the name comes great expectations, brave, strong, hardworking. We know Canine Dan is up to the challenge. Canine Dan will be partnered with Deputy Baker, who served alongside Deputy McCartney. Deputy McCartney was killed while investigating a home invasion earlier this month. That is a very touching thing.
Very sweet tribute.
Done, right?
He has a lot of big shoes to fill in that regard.
Yes, nice gesture for sure. Well, and tomorrow a memorial service will be held for Deputy McCartney.
Yeah, that procession is expected to arrive at Pacific Lutheran University in Tacoma at 11:45 in the morning. And today, Washington State Trooper Jeff Seveny, who works here in the Inland Northwest, posted a picture, this picture, on Twitter. Those are some of our local state trooper motorcycles, all loaded up in a trailer. He says they'll be traveling across the state to be in place to help honor Deputy McCartney tomorrow. By the way, if you would like to watch that service and that procession for the fallen deputy, it will be live streamed on our KREM 2 Facebook page starting tomorrow about 11:30. Well, concerns are growing tonight about a possible government shutdown as talks on immigration and finding some kind of solution to DACA appear to have stalled.
Democrats argue the roughly 700,000 so-called dreamers have been kept in limbo long enough. They're threatening to withhold their votes on a bill to keep the government running if a deal can't be reached on DACA or the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. Even some Republicans are calling for a deal.
Without finding some responsible compromise, we're going to see the federal government shut down this Friday.
We cannot do this with people in charge at the White House who have an irrational view of how to fix immigration.
That second man was Republican Senator Lindsey Graham. He says a compromise appeared to have been reached last week but was derailed during that now infamous meeting where the president reportedly used an expletive when referring to African and Caribbean countries. Government funding, by the way, runs out on Friday.
And today, Eastern Washington Congresswoman Kathy McMorris Rogers said she is disappointed that a deal to preserve DACA has not been reached yet. In a statement, she said immigration issues are important to people in Eastern Washington, and the best way to find a successful solution is through a bipartisan deal. She added that she is still hopeful, saying we have until March 5th and that she'll keep pressing her colleagues to come to an agreement just as soon as possible.
All right, we're going to bring in Evan Narani now. We're talking about kind of a messy forecast after a beautiful weekend, a holiday.
Very nice weekend. I mean, we saw about 3 days of sunny skies, warmer temperatures. The temperatures aren't going to be dipping down too much, but we are going to be saying goodbye to the sunny skies, unfortunately.
Sadly.
That's the bad, exactly. But temperatures for now looking pretty stable. We saw 38 degrees today. The problem as we go into the evening is this fog. We're expecting this to stick around into the morning hours of tomorrow. You can see it's affecting plenty of people out and about, and it will affect your morning commute as we go into tomorrow, and we continue to see those temperatures dip. So make sure as you go into your morning commute tomorrow, you take an extra caution on those roads. An afternoon high today of 38 degrees is what we saw. A little bit warmer than average for this time of year, only less than 1/10 of an inch of rain. We're expecting more as we go into tomorrow and Thursday. Here is the moisture that we're tracking moving towards us. You can see it building on the satellite radar, that area of green that's building up. That's just over the last few hours as it slowly approaches that Washington coastline. It'll continue all the way through past the Cascades as we go into later tomorrow afternoon and then hit us just around 1 a.m. going into Thursday morning. A few clouds in the sky for Wednesday. No sun really peeking out for the most part. We're expecting that rain and snow to come in late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning, and unsettled weather continuing all the way from then into your weekend. Here are your temperatures for this evening. We're expecting them to stay in about the lower 30-degree range. Grand Coulee will be at 32 degrees. We'll see Moses Lake at 33 tonight. Tomorrow's afternoon highs are in the upper 30s, in some cases lower 40s. In these areas in green, we're seeing those warmer temperatures. Ritzville will be at 43 degrees for tomorrow. Spokane at 40 degrees. St. John 44 tomorrow. And look at Lewiston. Lewiston will almost hit 50 degrees tomorrow. All these areas, as I mentioned in green, are where those warmer temperatures are. Those blues are where those cooler temperatures are, especially north of us. Those higher northern elevations is where we're expecting most of that rain to come in the form of snow. But besides that, Future Tracker does show that it'll mostly be rain. You can see across the Cascades, plenty of snow is possible, but as it moves farther towards us, it clears out just a little bit. This is a lighter storm that'll make its way through just tomorrow afternoon. It deteriorates pretty quickly. Now, the big storm that we're tracking is this one that comes in Wednesday evening. You can see the yellow is where it's heavier rain, and that'll continue to move across eastern Washington. Moses Lake and Wenatchee will see that just around 10:45 p.m. We won't see it hit the Spokane region until just about 1 a.m. as I mentioned. You can see it continue all the way through around 6 a.m. So this could be affecting that morning commute going into Thursday morning with heavy rain likely and snow across that Idaho-Montana border and all the way into western Montana as well. It'll be mostly snow as we go into your afternoon hours of Thursday. Some rain and scattered rain showers all around eastern Washington, and then clearing out just for a little bit going into Thursday evening. Here's that 10-day forecast where we see temperatures 40 degrees for tomorrow, a little bit warm. That's why we're seeing it mostly in the form of rain. 42 degrees for your Thursday afternoon. We're still expecting off and on rain showers all the way through Wednesday into your weekend. That's the unsettled weather that we're talking about. Just really on and off showers all throughout the rest of the week. Then a little bit of a clearing out as we start off next week, but we'll see a return to those just at average temperatures of the mid-30s as we start off next week.
So you're saying I shouldn't wash my car just yet?
No, hey, nature will do it for you.
Okay, well that's
every time
nice.
I want to wash my car, I'm like, maybe I should.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You gotta just let.
We're
Mother
kind of
Nature
in the
take
thick
care
of it though,
right?
mid-January. So all right, thanks
very
Evan.
much.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Now, your Northern Quest Sports Desk.
It is Spirit Week in the Greater Spokane League with the spotlight always on a loud, festive scene inside the Spokane Arena. We start tonight with the annual Rubber Chicken matchup. Ferris taking on Lewis and Clark. A tight ball game throughout. Third quarter, Tigers working around to Najee Smith on the baseline. Who's going to rise up, reverse throwdown. Tigers up 27-25. Other end, Ferris trying to get some offense going. Kick out to Shamrock Campbell with the triple. Saxons led 30-29, but they had no answer for Najee Smith, who has been awfully good for an awfully long time. Crashing the offensive glass, puts another down. LC wins it at the horn on a Griffin Effenberger bucket, 44-42. Same schools, different squads. LC girls hanging out just behind CV in the standings. Jacinta Buckley showing some serious length on the glass. Scoops it up and puts it in for an early hoop. Ferris's first 7 points came from one person. That person, Mason Younger, spins and gets the and one there in traffic, led the Saxons with 13 points. But the Tigers kept on coming. Anna Reeves, nice pass to Buckley, who had a game-high 22. Tigers win it easily, 59-28. They sweep the games, also get the coveted rubber chicken as well. Another showdown up north in Mount Spokane, where the Wildcats hosted Meade in what they call Pack the Palace. Wildcats scoring with ease early. Spencer Barrera drops in open tray ball. He had 14 points on the night. Panthers trying to keep the pace. Tyson Rogalette finds some space on the baseline, puts it in. He had 17 to pace Meade. But the Wildcats built a big lead early, and that would hold throughout. Nice ball movement as Caleb Wendell drops in the 8-footer along the baseline. Wildcats take it 68-57. Those schools played a great game on the girls' side. Love to see the packed house. Third quarter, Wildcats in control. Aspen Adams, she can fill it up. Drains one from beyond the arc. Mount Spokane had a 14-point cushion, but the Panthers chip away. Jordan Hutchinson, an important piece of the puzzle. That bucket cuts the lead, I should say, to 6 in the third. Fast forward to the fourth, about 90 seconds ago. Hutchinson again spins and in. That would complete the comeback, give the Panthers the lead for good. Upset win for Meade tonight. They get it 59-55. That's it for sports. So we'll be right back after the break.
Final look at that 10-day forecast. We're seeing 40 degrees for your afternoon high tomorrow, cooling down just a little bit to the mid-30s by the end of the week and into next week.
Thank you very much, Evan. Finally, tonight we've been dealing with the very difficult news out of Pullman that WSU quarterback Tyler Herlinsky was found dead in his apartment earlier today from an apparent suicide.
There has been kind of a growing memorial growing there on the WSU Pullman campus. This is what it looks like at this hour, although I'm sure this photo was taken not too long ago, and I bet it's grown even more since then. Earlier tonight, just a few hours ago, we tweeted a picture that just showed a single flower and a card out there, and obviously by morning we fully expect that it will have grown exponentially. Just a profound feeling of sadness across campus tonight.
Saw another tweet tonight of somebody that had put a sign somewhere, it looked like it was near the athletics building, saying, "You'll always be our comeback kid." And make sure to wave Old Crimson, because of that Boise State game. Make sure to wave Old Crimson up there for us in heaven.
Everyone just has so many questions tonight. We have very few answers, but it is without question that the Pullman community, the WSU community is rallying together right now. That is apparent when you look on social media tonight.
There's no question about it, and other proud Cougs have said the same thing, just the tight-knit nature of the community, the love and the support that anybody that spent time in Pullman, even if you're not a Coug, you experience when you're there. And in a situation like this, as tragic and heartbreaking as it is, you can bet people will rally, and there will be tons of support, certainly for the Herlinsky family, for the football program, and anybody that needs it after what happened tonight.
We just can't say it enough, but obviously great loss there in Pullman tonight.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll leave you with this image. Good night.